Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and you are Reesa Ishiyama.
I'm Reesa Ishiyama.
Great. All right, so you are an actor?
I am an actor,
An actress?
whatever you like to
Yes,
call me.
I had the
Entertainer.
That always comes up. That always comes up where it's like, how do I say it?
Well, I was listening to your last podcast and I
Okay.
was like, I don't care. Whatever you like to call me.
Okay.
Funny person.
And so outside of actor, do you consider is actor okay. Is there anything you'd like to add on top of that, or is
I'm also a musician. I'm from Japan. I speak fluent Japanese. Going home to Japan in a month for 4 weeks. You mean career-wise?
Yeah, as far as identifying traits.
Identifying traits.
Singer,
Pianist. Singer-pianist.
pianist.
Mm-hmm.
Great, because I feel like for foundation building purposes, you and I have worked together a few times now before, director, actor, on some of my short films, such as Me, a Jenny, and also Me.
What was that one? The middle one called?
It was called An Ideal Conversation.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then the
Popcorn.
first time was Popcorn.
Yeah.
So that's been great.
It's been so much fun. It's helped me through this past 2020 year.
Yeah, those were all last year, so it's very...
Yeah, we did 3 in 1 year during a quarantine year.
Well, we got lucky with Popcorn.
It was
shot
right
that
before.
right before, and we got lucky. That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to talk about let's start with your story, and then maybe we'll come back to a little bit more of the now. So you mentioned you were born and grew up in Japan, specifically
Kawasaki, Japan, which is south of Tokyo.
Okay.
But I usually just say Tokyo.
Yeah.
It's the vicinity.
It's the name that people recognize around here. Okay, so I was curious to hear about that, because we've had chances to chat before, but normally it's like we're in the work brain with like, all right, we have a character, let's talk it out and figure stuff out and do that collaboration. But so what is Japan like? It's a very basic intro question.
What is Japan like? Culturally, people are very polite. It's a group society. We all kind of live on this moral code. I would say that Americans are very free, and in a positive saying, I love living in the U.S. because it's so free. You get to do whatever you want to do. You get to be out of the box. In Japan, you kind of have to fit this mold. But this COVID situation has really brought out different sides of the culture that some I think, this part of Japan is good. People respect COVID or whatever, social distancing, all of that. So it's interesting. I mean, obviously I'm both. I'm half Japanese, half white American, Caucasian American. So I get to pick the things I like about both cultures, which I feel very grateful for.
Okay. I guess... All right. I get that was one thing I was curious about too, was okay, so you mentioned there's a mold. There's like a little bit more of a mold in the society that you have to fit. Like, what is that like? Because you, as an actor, you had your start in Japan. Like, you kind of got the, I don't know if you'd call it the bug or whatnot, but like...
Yeah. My parents are actors in Japan.
Okay. Yeah. So how did that all start, and how does that relate to the mold and all that?
Well, I'll take you back to my parents. So my parents are both musical theater performers, actors in Japan. They're kind of retired now from performing, but my mom is from Pasadena, California. She's Caucasian. She moved to Japan for a dance job. She was a dancer. She still is. And then she joined kind of like the Broadway of Japan, which is kind of like a big company in Japan, and that's where she met my dad. So they started both doing musical theater. I was born, and ever since I could remember, I was growing up at, big professional theaters, thousands of seats, and watching rehearsal or, listening to my dad prepare for an audition, things like that. And I just loved it. I mean, musical theater was life growing up. And I begged my parents to let me audition for Les Miserables, Little Cosette, when I was about 5. I was very determined. But my parents didn't want to be, stage parents, so they told me no. They said, you can audition for things when you can take yourself to an audition and take yourself to rehearsal. Which Japan is a pretty independent country. Mm-hmm. Kids ride the train at 6 years old by themselves. So when I was around 9, I started going to Shibuya, which is, if you've ever seen photos of Japan, it's the big crossing. Maybe you've seen like a time lapse.
I'm sure I've seen it.
Maybe.
I'm sure I've seen it.
So that's, if you look up Shibuya Scramble Crossing, you'll see where I was walking at age 9 by myself, and I would go take tap lessons and ballet lessons. And when I was 11, I got to audition for my first Broadway equivalent show, Annie, in Japan. And the first year I didn't make it. Second year when I was 12, I got cast. And that was my start to professional acting, I guess. I did commercials and voiceovers and stuff before, but that was just more fun. Mm-hmm. It wasn't very serious.
So Broadway equivalent show. Mm-hmm. What is that? So it's like, it's not necessarily, because I'm not too familiar with the theater scene.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So how difficult is it to, like, especially like in Japan, like how different is it, or the theater culture, how does that differ from there versus here, or is it pretty similar on?
Well, Japan has a long theater history. Kabuki, the Japanese theater history, I think, that's why people love theater, because it's a part of the culture. Mm-hmm. And then when Western theater came into Japan, like musical theater, plays, it was well received. So theater is pretty big in Japan. It's kind of like a little New York. Lots of big stages, big famous musical theater or theater actors. For me, my debut show was Annie, which is an American show. About 1 million kids audition every year, and they take 20 kids. In the first year, I couldn't even get into the door for the audition. It was like a paper audition submission, and they didn't invite me. And then the second year, I got through. I think they invite about 500 kids, and they eliminate down to, it's a 3-day audition. Still to this day, it's the toughest audition. It feels like an American Idol, where you're kind of put on display. There's cameras everywhere, they're following you, and at the very end, there's about 100 kids that get selected, and then within the 100, they put you in a room, and then they call your name if you got in the show. So, it was very exciting, very heartbreaking if you didn't make it at that point, I think. I was very lucky. And
congrats.
Yeah, it was such a fun experience, and I did that for about a year. We did like a 6 months run in Tokyo, and then we traveled for like 3 months, and there's like a 3 months rehearsal. So
yeah, and then I guess just to clarify too, for people not watching the video, we are currently on a rooftop a few miles outside of Los Angeles. So I
see the Hollywood sign over there. It's very fancy.
Yeah, so if you hear noise such as that, it's
well, I mean, it's cool. It's a Japanese tourist dream to be able to sit on a rooftop and be like, that's a Hollywood sign.
Yeah. It's quite the dream.
Yeah.
Living it. Okay, so you got your start with a huge show, and your parents were like, "Sweet, our daughter is living the dream," and
no, I think it was more like, if this is what you want to do, go ahead. They were never pushing me to do it at all, which was different from most of the parents there, which were, every country, I feel like there's those stage parents. Mine were not. So then I just took myself to rehearsal, did my schoolwork in the train, and LAPD cop. My uncle was at LAPD, my aunt and uncle, so.
Yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah, it was fun.
Okay.
Oh, and the director was actually American. He's a theater director in LA, on Broadway, but he lives in LA. So I've met up with him a couple times since moving here.
Okay, so after that experience, what came after that? Like, how did your perception of that life change as young as you were? Like, did that, how much did that impact you with that experience?
There must be somebody running or something. We're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
This is all a part of Hollywood experience. There's, helicopters everywhere. It's very exciting. It's like Beverly Hills Cop.
Yes.
So after that, so that was like the top tier. So after that, booking other shows was quite easy.
Yeah.
So I did a couple other shows. And then I auditioned for this American company called The Young Americans. They are not really around anymore, but back then they were a big performing arts traveling company based out of California. They had a tour in Japan, and I went to see their show, and I fell in love with them. And I was a translator for them for a season. And then I auditioned for the company, and I got in. So when I was around 18, I moved to California.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was the plan at that point? Okay, so leading up from your first show, Annie, to that audition and being introduced to that company, you knew the whole time that performing was the dream of yours? And
yeah, I thought I wanted to be a Broadway star. That was my thing. I mean, growing up, my favorite movies were like Singing in the Rain, American in Paris, all those old American musical theater movies. I also didn't have a lot of exposure to American films because we only got like a few things. I always say the 3 TV shows we got in Japan were Friends, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, 4 actually, Boy Meets World, and Full House. Those are the only things I had access to, which they're fun.
Those are good shows.
But, I missed out on a lot of good American TV and film pop culture. So I don't think I had the understanding of what pursuing TV and film could be like. So it wasn't something I was thinking about until I moved out to LA.
Sure. I guess more what I was thinking was like, when I reflect back on myself as a kid, like I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Sure, yeah.
So I'm just imagining like, oh my gosh, like I want to be an actor, and then having the experience of actually living as an actor and doing the work. It's like, actually, I don't like this anymore. Like there might be some moments of wavering on the dream, or like, actually, my parents are right. Like I don't know if there's moments like that in there, or if it was just like, oh my gosh, this is all beautiful and all fun. And
I mean, I was a very competitive, determined kid.
Yeah.
I made my parents say okay to doing professional shows, honestly. But there was a moment I wanted to be a vet. I wanted to be an architect, which I still love homes. I wanted to be a saxophone player, but then I played saxophone for like 2 weeks, and I was like,
okay,
no.
Sounds tough.
My parents wanted me to work at the UN because I spoke 2 languages. That was more their thing. They would have loved if I worked at the UN. Stability.
And power.
Yeah. Status. But I think I was always pretty determined.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad. That sounds great to know, and it to feel right. Okay, so prior to this American company that you auditioned for, were you looking for a way out to the States? Was that...
Oh, yeah.
When did that kind of... Or was that always a hurdle you knew you had to cross at some point?
I didn't even think of it as a hurdle. I think it was always kind of like, well, my parents live in Japan. We grew up in Japan until we're 18, and I was going to somehow move here once I was an adult. We came to California.
Air quotes adult.
Because I don't know, 18 is... I laugh when people say 18 is an adult, because really? Yeah. But every summer we would come to California for 2 months because all my mom's side family lives here. And when I was in 6th grade, we spent like 4 months and actually went to a school in Sacramento. And I thought I was always going to come here to go to school, which I did eventually end up going to Cal State Long Beach. But yeah, I just always knew that I was going to come here.
So you said you would come here every year, kind of growing up. All right, that makes sense then. I kind of like wasn't considering that aspect of it, where you had exposure to SoCal and America quite frequently. So, all right, that smooths it out for sure. Where it's like, all right, you know where you're going to end up, and it's just a part of the plan, part of the master plan. So, okay. So you landed with this American company, and this was a dance company?
It's a performing arts company. It's singing and dancing, and not really much acting. They travel around the world, they perform, and then they teach kids a show, a singing and dancing show. The first act is the company show, and the second act is with the kids. So when they came to Japan, I took their workshop, and I was in their second act, and I fell in love. And you know, a lot of very talented performers in the company. So I trained about a year to audition for them, and with them I traveled around the US. I went back to Japan twice for 2 tours. I went to Germany, Poland, Holland, Denmark, Sweden. Yeah. And so I got to travel a lot.
So how was that?
Really cool. I was in Germany for about 3 months.
I was gonna ask about how much time you had outside of the shows to...
Not much.
Okay.
We were pretty packed, but we did get to see a lot of the country, because every 3 days we would be in a different city. So we were there in, I think they would say Munich, during Oktoberfest. But our company wasn't allowed to drink, so we just like walked around watching drunk people. I wasn't even 21, except that I think their drinking age is like 16 or 18 or something, so it wouldn't have mattered. But the culture and the architecture, and it's just so beautiful. Cologne was the first place we landed in. I hope I'm saying that right. It's this gorgeous castle, and Bremen, I think, was east of Germany. It's beautiful river, and I really want to go back.
Yeah. Does that, prior to that experience, had you traveled much prior, like,
no,
aside from coming to the U.S.?
That was it. Every summer, our travel was coming here.
Okay. Which
was 2 months out of the year we would be here, so we didn't really get to spend time elsewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I was just thinking about like the experience of at least seeing so many parts of the world so quickly, and how that adjusts the framework of the world and how it's all connected. But being that you're so busy, you know, working and working the craft, and I wasn't sure on how much that experience may have influenced your worldview. But
I know. I mean, you know, when you're a child, I feel like you're not really thinking about that.
Yeah.
Maybe when I was like 18 and I was I still don't think I appreciated it how I would appreciate it now, going to Europe and spending 3 months in Germany and other countries.
What was it about at that time?
Well, it was about performing with my friends and traveling in a different country. I wish I had studied history and culture and even like politics and just everything a little bit more. But I mean, it was still such a great experience.
No, for sure,
yeah.
for sure. Makes sense. Okay, so you did that.
Yes.
But you hadn't. So that's almost like a limbo year or whatever.
It was like a year and a half maybe.
Because
performing and touring.
You're not technically living in Japan, and you're not technically haven't moved to the States, or had you officially moved at that point? Did you consider it a move?
Yeah, I moved in because the training center was in California, so we trained for about 6 months, I think, and that was including rehearsals and auditioning for different tours. Because once you get in the company, you have to also audition to get on a tour. So I did spend like 6 months in California.
Okay, and then a year and a half of travel.
Yeah, maybe it was like a year.
Sure. Somewhere in there.
Somewhere around there.
All right. So one thing, because that's a lot of experience performing prior even to starting the LA pursuit.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds I'm curious to how LA felt when you first started here, and how the outlook has changed now that you've spent time here, or how...
Yeah. I mean, the industry has changed a lot. When I moved out here, I felt like, well, first of all, I didn't know anything about TV and film. Right. I moved out here, I was going to Cal State Long Beach, and I had a voice teacher in LA, and she said, you should come to this audition for this musical theater show, Spring Awakening. It was going to be the first show in LA after the rights had been released on Broadway. So I said, sure. And I went to the audition, not realizing that this was like a pretty big audition. And all the actors there were TV actors, like recognizable TV actors. I didn't know who they were because I had not done... I didn't even really watch that much TV. I was on tour for a year and a half.
You didn't have a chance prior because they didn't have the shows unless...
And again, there was like a lot of kids. You know, we were all kids, maybe like 300 kids. And somehow I got in. Mm-hmm. And on the day of the callback, I was like, I want to book the show. And I moved to LA. I didn't even book the job yet. So I had my car packed with the few suitcases I had. I had nothing else. And I moved to Glendale. Mm-hmm. And then that rehearsal started, which is where I first got to meet TV actors.
Oh, so you did get the role.
I got in the show. There was about...
So you moved without having booked it.
No, but I booked it.
You booked it. Woo!
Yeah, I know. But I would have probably moved to LA anyways.
Sure.
To just try it out.
I'm just glad it ended up that way. That you had me scared for a second there.
I know.
I didn't know where that was going.
But that's to be young and ignorant. That's the kind of stuff you do, which is exciting.
Okay.
And I think there was about like 15, 20 of us in the show. And we were rehearsing during pilot season, which back then I think pilot season was even more of a real season than now. Mm-hmm. So all the TV actors were all coming with their auditions. They have auditioned for this big TV show, callback, chemistry read, and I was just kind of soaking it up, learning. And I was like, oh, this is kind of exciting. I feel like maybe this is something I want to do. And then I started taking, TV, film, acting classes, and I fell in love with it. And I did a couple of other musical theater shows after that in LA, which had really great casts, a lot of other TV actors too. But I just realized that it wasn't something I wanted to do anymore. So that kind of faded, and I've been just pursuing, film and TV acting since.
So what was that transition like from the craft perspective on switching gears from the stage performances into...
Yeah, very different. Mm-hmm. And also it's also different because acting in Japan is different from the US. Mm-hmm. So I was doing theater acting in Japan, which is very big. It's like bigger than Broadway. So coming here and realizing, I'm still learning this. Oh, TV and film, it's it looks like just real people talking. Like, I didn't know what that looked like on my body.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's always a constant thing I'm trying to figure out. Yeah.
Okay. So that's interesting coming from the Japanese theater, where you said it's even bigger than, like, bigger expressions and bigger movements than American theater, and then switching from American theater into film, it's like dialing it down even further into like micro expressions and, like you said, the realness of two people just talking. That's at least it's a straightforward progression into toning it down, but I don't know if you even call toning it down. I don't know what you call that, but
yeah, I don't know. But also, it was language too. I didn't speak English well when I first moved here, so it was reading a script in English, understanding it, and then getting the words out. That was very stressful.
Because you technically knew the language.
I mean, I spoke it, but not very well.
Okay.
I did all my schooling in Japanese. I went to a regular Japanese school. I didn't go to like an international school in Japan. So getting to know the language, and then also reading a script and understanding the meaning of it. Because there's so many hidden meanings that unless you're smart enough, you don't get it. I feel like now, finally, most of the times I get what scripts are.
Because even when you do know the language, it's hard to know, like, what's the subtext here? What's the intention of the writer? What are they looking for? Because it could be interpreted in many ways. So it does take a lot of experience to, I guess, make your decision on what you're going to run with there. But yeah, that sounds like a lot of work to
lots of dialect coaching, speech therapy, reading out books out loud, kind of like Princess Diary, when Anne Hathaway's reading out the book. A lot of those. And just getting used to American culture.
Okay, so when you initially jumped into the film and TV side, you had the benefit on the stage to witness different actors that have done film and TV talk about their experiences. So, like you said, you're soaking all that up. So, when did you jump fully into? Okay, I'm trying to say. When did you leave theater behind? And jump fully into film and or I don't know,
No, actually, there was an exact moment I remember. It was maybe, I don't know, a couple of years ago. I was having dinner with a film director, and he was kind of angry that I was doing a theater show, even though I told him that I was pursuing film and TV. And retrospectively, I don't know if what he was saying was right, but he basically said that if you want to pursue film and TV, you got to pursue that. You got to make it your own thing and just go 100%. You can't be doing other stuff. And I took that to heart. And I do appreciate it, because I did spend all my time now just focusing on this one thing, which I hope has made me grow as an actress for this specific medium. But I don't think as an actor you can't do both. I think there are a ton of actors who do both and are fantastic. And I kind of, with this pandemic, who knows when, but I would love to do theater again someday. But maybe not musical theater. I feel like I've grown out of musical theater. I would love to do like a play. And whenever I go to New York, I kind of want to watch a play rather than a musical theater show.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's the thing about LA is I hate those advice segments that people throw at you. Sometimes, like everybody likes to throw out the advice of you have to do this, you can't do this.
Yeah.
That's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, and when you're young and green. You're trying to take whatever advice that other people who you think have more experience are giving you. But I don't know. I think I took the right path.
The way I interpret it, as based on this person's experience, their opinion is to have the best chance of succeeding at the film and TV life is probably to stop doing theater and to put all of your time into that will give me the best chance of succeeding. Mm-hmm. And then from there you could take, it's like, all right, that makes sense, and I'll probably take that advice, but saying that you can't, I just hate the word.
I know. Word. But also, hey, the past year there hasn't been any theater anyways. So
you literally can't.
You can't. Yeah, so I think everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. I feel very grateful for where I am right now in my journey.
I'm glad. That's good. How was the process? Okay, this is kind of like Actor 101 a little bit, but I always try to think about all of the actor friends and people that I've known that have moved, and like the first checklist items are always like, all right, I need to get representation, I need to get my SAG vouchers and like get on some SAG and like make SAG. How was what is I don't know how often you reached out to for advice from other actors on like how do I get your SAG, how do I get SAG, and how do I get representation, and how was it for you, and how do you think of it now? Yeah.
How do I think of it now? I'm thinking about that. You know, when you talk to more experienced actors or filmmakers, they're like, don't worry about the headshot, the representation, being SAG, just worry about your craft. And, you know, most actors, myself included, come here being like, I need to find representation, I need to get the best headshot, I need to be SAG. And I'm like, yeah, I wish I did take that advice more of just focusing on the craft, and which I always was focused, but I think I was distracted often by feeling like I had to move ahead by having a representation or whatever. I mean, yeah, I've had so many different agents and managers, and I kind of feel like, okay, I'm very happy with mine right now. They're great, but my previous ones, I felt like I was just getting somebody just so I can get somebody and say, oh, I'm in LA, I have representation, like feeling some kind of weird validation from that. Yeah, now I definitely am in a place where I want to just focus on the craft. But I can tell you a story of how I became SAG.
Okay, sure. Let's hear it.
Which I don't even know if this loophole still exists. But when I became SAG, there was a loophole to where if you were a producer on a project and you had a co-producer who was SAG, you can Taft-Hartley yourself. So, because to become SAG, you have to be Taft-Hartley'd, or you have to do 3 SAG eligible jobs or something like that. I don't remember. And I've always liked producing. I still do produce a little bit right now. I want to do it more in the future. So I produce some little, reel shorts, and I Taft-Hartley'd myself. That's how I became SAG. And then I did a couple more shoots for my friends. And once I was SAG, I Taft-Hartley'd them. So, I think we shot something, and there was maybe a 3-page script, but it never came out anywhere. And that was enough to get in at that time. I don't know if you can do that now.
I don't know either, but that sounds great.
Yeah, I helped a couple of my friend helped me first, and then I think I was able to help maybe 3-4 friends to get in SAG. So
the idea is you produce a project in which you have a co-producer that is SAG, or another producer along with you that can vouch for you. I'll just air quotes that. And I'm assuming you produce it and you act in it. Yeah. And then the other producer. All right, cool.
Yeah, but I did all the paperwork.
Right.
He was just there for name, and then I did all the paperwork for all my friends too, which took forever. Because SAG doesn't care about people who are shooting your reel, trying to Taft-Hartley themselves. So it was just a lot of calling SAG people, annoying them over and over.
Yeah, because for that story, I think about before I moved to LA, I don't even know if we've talked about this, but I initially pursued the acting side.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Before I quickly realized that that's not the side for me,
Mm-hmm.
and I much prefer behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But I did get, I got Taft-Hart lead, and became SAG eligible before I moved down here.
Cool.
And it was through a similar kind of way where a friend of mine, she produced a project, and like there was a weird loophole at that time for like new media productions.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Okay, so it might be a similar thing, but I don't know if there's anybody attached that. Maybe there was that I didn't know about, because I didn't know what was going on back then.
Yeah.
But I was just a background player on that short.
They were really cool then.
But they can give you whatever. Regardless, I was just an extra, and I got Taft-Hart lead through this short film.
I mean, I feel like the lesson here is that if you
loopholes.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to make it happen, and joining SAG, I don't think now being here, it's not a big deal. It feels like a big deal when you first move here. Like, oh, I need to join SAG, and it was like very exciting, and it's something that you can definitely make it happen. And I don't think the new media thing is still a loophole. I think they closed that loophole.
They closed that quick.
There was something else.
Okay.
You can figure it out.
I guess the big question is, because it's always fear-based thinking, is if I'm not SAG, I'm not going to be considered for the role. So is that a thing that you've felt has mattered, or just because now that you have SAG, you don't have to think about it anymore? I
don't have to think about it anymore, but I would ask probably really good actors who are not SAG and who have booked jobs and then turn SAG, because if you're good enough for the role, they're gonna make it happen for you.
Yeah.
It obviously kind of depends on the budget of the project and everything, but I don't think those are things that you should be worried about. I wish I wasn't worried about those.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's still, yeah, the fear is strong. No.
Yeah,
sure,
I feel
sure.
now I'm like, the fear should be, oh, what if I'm not a good enough actor? More than anything.
What if I'm not good enough? Yeah. So focus on that.
Or what if I haven't put enough time into this audition, or, not like, is my headshot good enough?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How do you tackle auditions?
Well, you've helped me with a few.
Because when you mentioned the time thing, because that's always a...
Yeah, I mean...
How much is too much time? How does it...
I don't know if there's ever too much time. I guess maybe... we'll say I have a chemistry read for this film I've had a couple callbacks for this week.
Nice.
And after the last callback, I didn't hear back for 2 months. So I threw away the script, the printed out version, and I threw away my tapes because I was like, I didn't book it. And then I heard back from them yesterday saying, hey, you have a chemistry read. And I was like, oh, kind of forgot about it.
Can you send me those tapes?
Right? I'm like, what did I do in those auditions? I don't know. So maybe that is time, but I don't know if there's everything as too much time. Because don't you feel that way as a director? Do you ever feel like, oh, I spend way too much time in pre-production?
Well, no, that's impossible.
Right?
But for an audition, I guess from the director's perspective, I understand. Like, there's this weird fine line between the expectation that one has when watching an audition. So, as a director, and I guess being that I have practiced the acting side as well, like, I understand that the audition is not meant to be like a perfect representation of this is what you're going to do on the day. This is a foundational aura that you are presenting that I can work with and mold, and we can heighten these moments and whatever. So I know it's not a completed thing. You're not in costume, you're not having the makeup, you're not on location, you don't have your scene partner, we haven't rehearsed it. So I understand it's like, ideally you know the lines, but I don't even know if that's 100% needed. Like I don't know. It's.
I mean, I would say not enough time is when you get an 8-page script that the lines are mostly you, and you get it at 8 p.m. and it's to 11 a.m. the next morning. That feels like not enough time, and those are stressful, and I just don't sleep, and I try to, shoot it overnight, which luckily my mom is the best, and she's in Japan, so our time's opposite. So she's willing to shoot with me at like 3 a.m. if I need to, because that's afternoon for her.
Your 3 a.m., yeah.
My 3 a.m., which I have done a couple times, and it's just like...
Because that feels like... It feels like too much of an ask for the actor in that.
I just don't even feel like half of the time I'm really putting in the work for the acting. I'm just trying to regurgitate the words.
Yeah.
And even if I'm not getting it perfectly, that doesn't feel like enough time to really know the story enough.
Well, they're not even giving you a chance to sit with it and think about it, and it's too many pages to ask for anyway. You don't need that much of a runway to get what an actor is going to give you. So it's just like, for me, it feels like disrespectful to the actors you're asking to do this work.
But I have got auditions like that for big projects. And I'm like, well, somebody else booked it, so they must have done it. Or maybe they didn't do all 8 pages. Maybe they just did 1 page and they were like, this is what I do.
If you want me, here you go.
I don't know. If you're out there, if you booked that job I didn't book, let me know.
Yeah, no, it's because I don't know. It's the whole taking advantage of just other positions in general that I know I spend a lot of time making sure like it's you're respecting each other's craft and all the acts aren't too much. And
well, you are respectful for like that. Even when I've worked with you, you've always given me the script ahead of time, and your sets are run really smoothly. You're so much fun to work with. That's why, obviously, we've done 3 projects together and hopefully more.
Oh, thank you.
But I also...
Sure, go.
Yes.
Go for it.
Yeah. Applause. But I also don't feel like I'm being taken advantage of. It's what I want to do. So if I end up getting a script that's 8 pages and I have to shoot it overnight and I send it in not perfect, I mean, I hope that they're not expecting it to be perfect. I still got to do what I wanted to do. And if you feel like, if you're angry because of that, I don't know, like, why are you doing it?
That's a tough part. That's something that I've been thinking about more through this COVID stuff too.
Yeah.
Is being that this is the craft that we love, where is the line in which you're asking too much, I'm not going to do it? Like, if there's no such line, then somebody could potentially be like, here's 20 pages, I want this in the next hour. You want the job or not? Oh, you're not serious about this? Like that whole kind of, it feels like a little bit bully tactic-y to really utilize that love and leverage it for...
Well, I used to get stressed about things like that, but now I kind of just do what I want to do. So if I can spend the whole overnight learning, memorizing 8 pages, which I always do because I don't like feeling like I didn't give my all, especially when these are bigger auditions that my manager and agents fought to get for me. I'm not going to send in a half tape unless we're told you can only send half if you want to, which that's hardly ever going to happen. I would say more about that taken advantage of if it's like physical safety. I've heard of shoots where, they don't have enough budget, so they didn't hire a stunt person. So you're standing on the roof on a rainy day, you don't have any safety, you're not wired, and you're slipping. Like that, I feel that's taken advantage of. If you don't have the money to do a cool stunt and you're using an actor and putting them in danger, I would feel that. And I would probably speak up. Or if it was like a sexual scene and, there wasn't like nudity waivers and suddenly they want you to be naked or something like that. Those are more situations more than at the audition level. Yeah.
Okay. Because I guess let's say that's for the freelancer, like when I script supervise and stuff, something that I always think about is I don't know. It's the weird like negotiating rates and that kind of thing that comes with the freelance life of production. Is at least in the indie world, they're always trying to, like, we don't have the budget for this. Sorry, we can only pay you this, but we need this, this, and this, and this, and this. And also, we're saying we're COVID compliant, but when you show up, it's like, oh, they're not really enforcing it, and this doesn't really feel very safe. The director and the producer aren't wearing their masks over there. They're not even taking it seriously. Yeah. Do I leave? Where's my line? Like, am I going to put up with that because I love the craft and I love being involved and I love being on set? Or, like, it's weird to think about the scenarios in which I love being here, because I can always spin it in, like, no matter how crappy of a day on set it was still a good time.
I was on set, right?
Which is a bummer, because I guess that's something I'm working on, is like, where's my line? What do I want to... I think about it as keeping, like, the set honest and keeping production honest and asking for more, but that...
Yeah. I don't know. Because I do produce a little bit. I think about that a lot, being fair to people I work with. Especially, I'm often hiring friends about time and money, and, you know, doing smaller shoots. It's usually a lower budget, so then at least being respectful about time, feeding 100%. Them, and I hope that when I walk onto a set that I'm treated that way, which I've mostly had good experiences. But I also haven't worked a ton like some of my other friends, so I'm kind of still in my learning journey. But me as a person, I've put a lot of time into working on myself. I did a whole year of life coaching the past year, actually year and a half. So I think I feel good enough to be able to say no and walk away and go, okay, that wasn't a mistake.
Yeah.
But I would go through the checklist of, like what did it take for me to get on the set, for me to walk away from that? I haven't crossed that line yet. Interested to see, like, what would be my line.
Yeah. No, I like the idea of having that line and really making people see that it exists and they can't just do whatever they want. It's like there are boundaries here that I would like you to not cross.
I mean, during this quarantine shoots, I have asked a director if one of the crew members, if they don't mind putting their mask on. There's a sound guy that was sitting right here in a car, and I was like, I didn't tell him because I didn't feel like should come from me, and that was very respected. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to do this again in like 2 years when I'm in a different place in my career. When I walked off a big set, like, I'm done.
For sure. And it makes headlines. I wanted to talk about your singing.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of mentioned, we talked about musical performance company, that you've traveled the world, that musical theater, but does it go a little bit further than that? Has singing been a bigger dream or anything on the side that you've tried to make happen in other ways, or?
Not really. I've always loved to sing. I still make my income doing music mostly. That's a big part of my work. But I don't know. I've never wanted to be like a singer, and that might change. I think I don't know if I even consider myself as actor. Like, I feel like I'm more of a filmmaker now, and that might have just come out of the product of not being able to book jobs. So I started to have to make my own thing, and I feel like maybe at a certain point, if I'm making music, I would enjoy more if I could find like a producer that I really gel with. But just to be a singer, not really interested.
Because have you explored that at all? Like,
oh yeah. I mean, I used to work as a singer. I did the master class. I don't know if you guys seen it. I did an episode with Christina Aguilera.
Dang, what?
I think my singing is cut though. I think I cut. I haven't watched it. I used to be a singer at Disneyland. I sang movie tracks, commercials. I did a lot of singing jobs in Japan. Yeah, they're fun, but it's not
No
my
big
passion.
deal. No big deal.
I mean, I've done some work, is what I'm saying.
No, that's very cool.
Yeah, and right now, my quarantine script, I with this producer writer. He has a film out on Netflix. We wrote a film about a musician. So if that film gets made, hopefully I will be able to play the role, and I would be a singer in the film.
So you would be singing.
Yeah,
as a
I'd
character.
be.
Yeah.
And cool. I love those, like La La Land. All the old musical theater movies. And that's very different. Being a recorded actor in a movie and live is very different. I would love to do singing roles in a movie.
Yeah. I remember La La Land. I remember. Okay, just to sidetrack for a second. I remember there were some reviews about Gosling. Emma Stone and Gosling were the leads in that one, and there was some frustration at how they weren't like craft proper all the time and like
sure
and whatnot. But
I mean, times are different. Studios don't develop musical theater actors like they used to. I loved it because I think at the end of the day it's about the story, and I love what's the director's name? Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the director's name.
Damien Chazelle.
Damien Chazelle. Love him.
Yeah, he's great.
I got to audition for one of his films. I didn't book it, but it was very exciting.
Yeah.
So I understand that, especially having watched most musical theater films growing up. But I didn't watch it for that. I knew going into the theater I wasn't going to be impressed. Well, actually, it's horrible to say. I was impressed by the movie. I thought they did great, but I wasn't going to see Gene Kelly and Debbie Reynolds. Like people who did that.
Yeah, I kind of like, for me, being that I'm not really familiar with the world anyway, I don't really catch those things. And I'm just like, it's super cool to see actors be imperfect and
it felt very real.
It kind of grounds it a little bit more where
I mean, they're such incredible actors, the both of them. I was in awe. I watched it in theaters like 3 times.
Nice.
That's the kind of movies I would love to get an opportunity to do or make.
It's got some great moments for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so because I know, like, when I did a little Googling of you just to see if there's anything else that...
Oh my gosh, what did you find? I also changed my name like 3 times, so you gotta look me up in different names.
Okay.
I was Reesa Ishiyama, Reesa Marie Ishiyama, Reesa...
I think those are the only two that those are the obvious ones, unless it's changed otherwise.
I feel like I was like Reesa Lynn for a while.
No, like I stumbled. I think I made it when we had first met. I feel like I looked up some of your stuff initially, so I might have seen this prior. But like, your singing reel. I don't know if I actually.
I don't know if that's still even available.
Yeah, it's on.
I
watched it this morning.
Oh, okay.
Like I feel like I've seen a part of it before, but I revisited it today. I'm like, oh my gosh, Reesa can sing. Like I didn't even, like it wasn't even a thing. Like that's not something that you really. I feel like you've shown off lately via
that's
like social
true.
media or.
I did make a quarantine song with my friend. It's on Instagram. That was pretty fun. I sing with my sister sometimes. And this is actually what I love about you. When I'm auditioning in the world, I'm always put in a box, which is like I'm Asian, specifically I'm Japanese, specifically I'm half Japanese, because it's so specific now. I don't even book Japanese roles anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's that, or I sing, or I don't know, like do a little bit of martial arts, but for you it was always kind of like, you just saw me as me or an actress. And I didn't feel like I was put into this box of I do these things. So maybe that's why it's never come up. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, I think that's correct. Yeah. But I was watching it and I'm like, oh my gosh. I wonder if I can use it. I wonder if I can get Reesa to sing.
Sing?
Well, not like right now. I'm just saying, thinking from the writer.
Oh.
Just knowing.
Sure.
Just being that for whatever reason, that didn't stick in my brain about you. I'm like, I like thinking about moments when like writing a project or something. It's like, oh, I know of an actress that can handle this. Let's throw
hopefully
it in there.
We'll do many more projects together, and one of them will be a singing role.
You'll be singing. Okay, because I did. So the one thing that I did find that I thought was interesting was it was when Keith Harrison produced a song with you.
Do you know Keith?
No, I do not know Keith.
Okay.
But I thought it was cool. Produced. And this was like back in like 2015 was when this was released, and you sang Sam Smith's "Like I Can." Mm-hmm. And they had like a whole like music video for it, and so that's where I was kind of thinking, like, did Reesa pursue a solo singing career or try to make something happen? Like, that's what I was kind of curious about.
I think I made that to book some jobs, but it's on my actor reels as if there was like another, I think at that time it was like, if there's Glee auditions, I could send that in. I think that was always my thought, more than let me pursue this singing thing.
Yeah, it was there to back up the actor, not to open up a new avenue.
Because I have dabbled in it, I know how difficult it is to pursue anything, and I just don't feel like I have enough mind space to be able to do both. Some people do, that's incredible. But I think my other half goes into story making now. I love writing, I love producing. I directed a little bit. It's not what I'm good at, but if somebody needs just like a little advice, I'm totally down for it.
Sure.
So that's where my other half of energy goes to. So I don't know if music.
Yeah, no, it kind of comes back to the chat with that one director where it's like you can't do everything.
And
Reesa.
it is true.
Yeah,
I think it was just how he worded it, where it's it's like, don't stop doing it, and I took that to heart. And I really stopped like right after that show.
For sure. I'm just looking up. Okay, I'm just gonna rattle off what you have yourself described as on IMDb.
Oh my gosh. Some of these things I've written so long ago.
I know how it is. So you highlight the singing, of course.
Okay,
you highlight piano.
Uh-huh.
You mentioned a couple times martial arts, boxing, and then you throw in Japanese sword.
I trained Japanese sword here for like a year. There's a group of Japanese actors that meet in a park, and one of the lead guys, he taught Japanese sword in Japanese, and that was fun, getting to meet Japanese actors pursuing film and TV in the US.
You taught it in Japanese.
In Japanese,
cool.
Yeah. Nice. And one of the instructors was a stunt guy. He's on Westworld. He's been in so many things doing Japanese like samurai stunts, and I wish I pursued it longer. I still have the sword, so I might go back to it.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, and then martial arts and boxing, are those?
That's something I pursued for a little bit too. I think I can do it as an actor. I would never say that I could do it as a stunt person. I have so much respect for stunt people. I have a lot of friends in stunts. But I did train for like 2 years.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with martial arts, but was it a specific craft that you, or was
like a specific style?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. I went to the studio that taught pretty much stunt martial arts, so it was more like fight choreography. So if I have an audition or book a role as a person that can fight, I know how to learn the choreography, which, because I was a dancer growing up.
Yeah.
And my mom's a dancer. Really, growing up, dance was my main thing. I think it went dance, music, acting. And so I can learn choreography rather easily, but it's still,
yeah,
so difficult.
But that makes sense that it'd be in the same, at least part of the brain where it's
if it's like left
beats and timing and body movement. Because I know, like, for me, the few like Dance 101 free courses I've taken and stuff, it's like unless you keep up with it, the body has a hard time. Like, you don't even know like
There
what
you go.
anything is doing as you're so I definitely respect the that craft. But no, that's cool. That's cool. That's the IMDb stuff.
Okay.
And then the Keith Harrison thing. I'll throw out what when you think about this is kind of like almost goals mindset, but I'm thinking about two things here. I'll throw out one. It's called happiness. What does Reesa think about, like, what are the priorities in
priorities in
life,
my
and
happiness?
How do you achieve it? Like, where does as vague of a question as that is.
That's a big question. I mean, it's probably the most important question. I don't know. Immediately, I am working on letting go of fear, and specifically in 4 categories: letting go of ego, control, judgment, and comparing with other people. Those are the 4 things I'm working on, and that comes from my education in life coaching that I've been taking, which has helped me a lot as a person, but also as an actress too, because so much of acting is being in a good mind space, I think. Bigger happiness. I would love to, I don't know, I don't want my happiness to be about my career, because I think that could be problematic. But I would love to be successful enough that I can bring my parents here. I'd love to buy them a house here, and for them to either retire here or be able to travel back and forth and have a place where I'm close to my family. And I would love for that to happen because of my success of my career. But if it's not that, and if it happens in a different way, I would be happy to.
And then going back to the 4, I was gonna say 4 pillars, but like the life coaching lessons you were learning, I thought those were big points. How has it been? Like, what lessons have you taken away from those? Like, I was thinking about the comparison specifically, because I know that you've taken, I don't know if you're still doing this, but it's like limiting time on social media has been a thing that you've been doing a lot more of. And I feel like social media is a big comparison space.
Definitely.
Where that's pretty much, it's hard not to, and it's definitely like an active, consistent fight with, I know, like, you have to actively not compare. It's a weird.
I mean, and it's also who you surround yourself with, right? That's something I've had to work on, in the energy that you are giving out and receiving. So, if you're checking on Instagram bad energy, like somebody that's always promoting something that's not true, or I don't know. I mean, Instagram is a weird place because I do promote my work on Instagram. I mean, that's how we met. We wouldn't have met unless otherwise, and I'm so grateful for that. And I try to use it as that. I don't try to use it as connecting with my close friends in an emotional way. I'll call my friends. So I take a break from Instagram at least 1 or 2 days out of the week, because I don't need to be on it 7 days a week. I don't have videos to post 7 days a week, or photos or exciting news. And also communication too. I don't feel like I have to text back somebody unless it's necessary. So protecting my energy. My friend, one of my very good friends, Morgan, shout out to Morgan, she has this analogy of a cup, where if your cup is not full, you should not be hanging out with people who take from your cup, kind of a thing. So if you have other people that are going to take from your energy, you need to know that and walk into a situation knowing that you are already full. So if you are giving out your energy, you still feel protected. And that's something I always felt like that was kind of selfish, to be like, oh, I have to protect myself. But I'm realizing that by protecting yourself, you're able to be there for another person in a different energy, in a better way, because you don't feel depleted. You're not losing your happiness through that. And that's what I'm aware of with social media and just everything.
Yeah, it's kind of like, to use the cup metaphor, is you fill yourself up enough to where you're overflowing, and then the overflow can go to other people, kind of thing, in a way, or
that too. But also she mentioned, some people need their cups to be overflowing all the time, like those people who are always mentioning, like, oh, I just booked this job, blah blah blah, like, oh, this director just told me that I was beautiful, blah.
Well, that sounds like somebody who has an empty cup.
That might be too. Hey, different ways to look at a cup. Is the cup half empty or half full?
They're forcing it in there. But yeah.
That's an American saying, by the way. Cup half full, half empty. My mom used to always say that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also similar to the airline mask thingy. Where it's like, when the plane's going down, the masks fall down, they always tell you to mask yourself before you try to help out the person next to you. Because in that case, well, in the plane case, it's, of course, if everybody's trying to help each other and you're like flailing, and nobody's going to end up having a mask on, because just take care of yourself. It's important.
It is important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See? This glass is full. My last sip of glass.
That's your
full glass.
Full glass. Full of. All right, and then fame. I want to talk about fame. So, the cool thing about you too, hearing more about the world travels and the bigger shows and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't have the experience of a full packed audience seeing a Broadway play or
being on stage looking at a full.
I've been on stage before.
Yeah, it's exciting.
In tiny community theater setting.
Hey, it's all exciting.
It's interesting, depending on the confidence level that you have, because it could be terrifying as well.
What was the role you played? A tree? I love it when people say I was a tree, and my parents were like, "You're the best tree."
Yeah.
Because it should just be about being on stage and being like, "Wow, this is so much fun."
Yeah, when I first jumped into it, I know I took acting 101 in my final semester of college, and that kind of like revitalized my creative self, because I was like on an engineering track up to that point. And then I was like, you know what, I need some fun, acting 101. Sure. After that, I got recommended to, like, hey, there's people that I know that are doing that community play. And I'm like, you know what, let's do it. And it was a musical as well, and I don't sing, so it was a lot. But I was just like an ensemble background. I think I had maybe like 3 lines the whole play. It was kind of torturous for me. It was kind of torturous, but you gotta get in there and get your time in and do some stuff. And then I did another play that winter that was more of a comedic parody on classic Christmas show, The Nutcracker. That's a parody of The Nutcracker.
Good show.
And that one was luckily no dialogue somehow, because it's mostly musical.
Nutcracker is mostly ballet. Yeah, I know the ballet version, which is there's no dialogue.
Right. So with the parody, it was like other choreographed stuff was going on, like jokes and I don't know.
Okay.
Whatever. Either way. So I don't have. Okay. So fame. How do you feel about how does fame play into the actor and what you're aiming for and where you get what you get out of attention and stuff?
As I'm looking at the Hollywood sign right here, I don't know, fame is a weird thing, right? Also, fame, it seems easier to achieve now with, there's these TikTok stars who have billions of followers, making millions. Mm-hmm. They're famous. So I don't know what it all means. I don't necessarily focus on being famous, but I do think there is some kind of liberation in being famous. Like if you wanted to make a big movie, your name sells, or you're able to get big funds because your name is recognizable. I mean, that's a great place to be in. I don't think of it as in like, oh, like I want to be at a place where paparazzis are following me. No, thank you.
Yeah.
But I would be grateful if any of those things happened, if my career was in a place that I wanted it to be in. I don't know, I grew up with a lot of famous people in Japan because my parents were both actors, and they're not famous, but we had famous actor friends. And I don't know, they didn't seem too happy.
Coming back to happiness there, yeah.
Yeah. So
what was it about? Do you know much about?
There's just a lot of like marriage dramas and family dramas because of their fame, and I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's something that we hear more about these days is like there's almost, aside from the plus that you mentioned with having your name attached to a project gets it greenlit, mm-hmm. and you can like be your own self-producer on that mm-hmm. higher level where people come to you with ideas and projects. You're like, mm-hmm. sweet, I'll attach myself to that book. Let's get that thing made. Like, I loved reading it.
That would be so exciting.
Like the Reese Witherspoon, like she's doing all that stuff.
So many. Margot Robbie, Olivia Wilde, who's directing, and like so cool.
So I like that, the idea of that side of it for sure. With there's a benefit there for that, but on the other side of it, there's just the whole cancel culture thing that's going. If you say any, like, there's always going to be somebody that disagrees with something that you say, no matter how good your intentions are.
Or something that just comes out of your mouth in a wrong way, and you're even recognizing it as you're saying it, but you can't take it back. Mm-hmm. Like, I think if you're under the microscope, that must feel scary. But I don't know. I'm not there at all. So
the question, it's, I don't know.
I mean, I would like to put out into the universe that I'm not against it.
Let's just see how it goes. Give it to me, and then.
But also, like, who's famous forever? Not a lot of people. You get your moment, and then
you get canceled.
I don't want to be those people where it's like, oh, she got famous for 2 years, and now nobody heard about her. I'd rather be making something for a really long time, and if some of them became big, great, but my goal is not to be famous. It's that if that's part of the journey, amazing. But I mean, I'm going to continue to make things regardless, so yeah.
Okay.
And with other wonderful people like yourself.
Yes.
Grow my community.
For sure. Okay. I see all that. I wanted to ask about, because ever since that we met, I've enjoyed your outlook on collaboration and how you see that. I was going to ask about how if you can explain it for people, how you see the collaboration process and how you choose what projects to be a part of and who to work with, mm-hmm. and how you developed that insight as an actor, because I could speak on other actors' views in contrast with yours.
Okay, I'm kind of interested to hear about that too. But well, as you researched me, I researched you because Eddie and I met on Instagram. You watched my Christmas video, right?
Yeah, that was one that I mentioned that stuck out to me. There was a short. I'd call it a short. It's more like a sketch of some kind.
Yeah.
I don't even think there's any dialogue in it. It's like all nonverbal, comedic, where you demonstrate some like funny martial arts moves, and you're trying to buy a Christmas present last minute, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that cracked me up. So I was like,
yeah, you reached out to me, and you were very professional. And I went to your Instagram page and saw that you are a working person in the industry. And then I think I looked up your reel or something on Vimeo, and or maybe you sent me some past projects, and then I watched them and I thought they were funny, so we met up. And I'm always kind of just like trying to figure out people's energies, and we met up, and I thought we were just kind of having like a general like hello, and you were like, I have a project I'm shooting next week. And it was like, great. And I felt really good about our initial meet, so we shot popcorn, I think like a week later.
Yeah, I mean, that was the same thing for me. I mean, this is in the before times again, where you can have an in-person energy feel, hang out, and because I wasn't sure. Like, of course, it was the same thing. It was like, let's meet up, let's see what she's about, and what the vibe is, and then I was like, all right, cool. I'm liking this. Let me just throw this out at the very end and see what happens. And I was trying to cast short.
Got there, it's always a trial, right, with the first time, and I really liked the people that you were working with, which I think tells a lot about your character, which you have a lot of good people around you that are very supportive and really good, like Max, your DP. Now I've got to work with him a couple times. He's incredible.
Shout out to Max Goldberg.
He's amazing. And like I said before, I kind of see myself more as a filmmaker than just an actor now. So I love being a part of the process, the project. And I feel like as we move forward, I think we'll collaborate even more. I mean, I love just walking on as an actress. It's very luxurious just to be like, oh, I learned my lines, I'm here. But for collaboration, I just look for good people who love to do good work. And it's definitely not about the money. Obviously, if there's money for the project, that's awesome. But it's about having a good time and everybody wanting to make something good. And if that's in the room, I'm totally down. And I've also had projects where I was like, okay, let's do it. And I did it. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to work with them anymore. And have just left. And that's fine too.
Okay. So do you approach it, are those opportunities that you're feeling out, are they normally with you're coming in, like you collaborate if you have the chance to act, or do you often?
I mean, that would be the main goal. I would love to be acting.
Just to clarify.
Because when I say I produce, everything I produced, I've been in. If it was a money job and I was hired as a producer, that would probably be different, because we all have to make money, right? So that might be different. But as a creative, obviously I would love to be acting. So that's usually how I collaborate with people.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, because something that I, as far as, like I was saying, the difference, the interesting thing is that you're SAG and you're still open to the whole SAG status. I'll call it a status. Is it a status?
Yeah.
It's a status, right? I don't know.
I think I know where this is going.
Okay.
Okay. Are you saying that there were people that have said, "Oh, I'm SAG. I can't do the short film"?
Yeah.
I've heard of those
there's
people.
There's people that lock down chances to experiment and feel things out, and just have some. I don't know. I see it as in the downtime in between the making the money stuff is like it's a Mark Duplass thing that I definitely grabbed on that I was doing before, but the advice is like there's no excuse to not always be making stuff on the weekends with your friends.
Yeah.
Because putting the hours in, the times in, the reps. I think we talked about that at our first meetup. It was like, it's kind of like reps. It's like, if it's a chance to be on camera and work a different character and work with different people, then like you're open to it. And I'm like,
oh yeah, always.
Cool. And for me, if it's a chance to try out this new writing style or experiment with this different approach on the directing side or work with this different DP, then I'm like, all right, we're getting something out of it in certain ways and whatnot. So I always see it from the what can we gain and come out of this when let's make something out of nothing versus shoot down because it's not the I don't know how to.
No, I get you. I mean, when we first did our thing, I thought it was just kind of like going to be a little video shoot. I didn't realize that you were going to bring, you know, like kind of a whole team. That was an actual team. So if I had said no because it wasn't a SAG job, if like I would have missed out on making 3 short films with you. So I have said no, I'm sure.
Sure.
If it feels wrong, and I kind of just go with the gut feeling of, like I said, about, you know, if I'm going to be standing on a roof in rain, slipping, and they don't respect me that way, then I'm probably going to say no.
I think about Gianna Carley.
I got to work with Gianna. She's amazing.
Being a trooper with all the water she had to deal with in that short.
Yeah, but that's a little different. I mean,
well, it's different because she was involved in the story creating process. But,
sure, yeah.
But either way, that kind of makes you.
I would have done the water thing because I trust you. If it was with a team of people that I don't trust and they're like, go jump in the ocean, which I don't really do, then I'd be maybe like, I don't know, like what are the safeties here? Like,
yeah. And I guess I'm not technically saying that every opportunity has to be jumped on, and there's some because.
Oh no, I don't think so either.
Yeah, because time is valuable. And
I also have done projects where I've been like, why are we still shooting this?
Oh,
like there's a reshoot of a reshoot of a reshoot, and I'm just kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm done. I've already given. And this is not like a paid job. This is more like a fun craft. Let's make something together. And if it feels like, okay, it's a little bit feeling like my time is not respected, then I don't really walk away from something in the middle, but I don't think I would be like, let's do something again.
Yeah, it's just a energy shift. Kind of kills the mood a little bit, right? Yeah. But anyway, I like that. I like your outlook on all that. So
thank you. I love working with you, and I love our friendship. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it again. I like all these compliments I'm getting to. Kind of I don't know, a little bit changing the subject, but I think it's a common thing to look into, and people might care is like TV habits. And
TV habits?
Yeah, like what do you being that we're in the film industry, do you make it a point to watch stuff?
Yeah.
Do you watch a lot of TV, or do you kind of like, are you picky about it? How do you?
I am picky. I love watching films. I feel like with TV shows, it's a little bit harder for me to get into it unless, I don't know, there's certain projects that I love. Like I just binged The Crown. Love The Crown. Schitt's Creek. So funny. But there's not a lot of show I get into. And then I do watch a lot of films. Or I try to. I mean, compared to people who have seen a ton of films, you know, I started watching films way later, so I have a lot to catch up with. But I love watching films.
Okay. So what's the normal what are the ingredients? Is there a common theme in what grabs you when you're a viewer? Like you said, like it's hard for a show to grab you. What is it? Because The Crown and Schitt's Creek are way different shows, of course.
Very different, yeah. Well, Schitt's Creek, it's what is the guy who plays David? Is this name Dave in real life?
I don't know his name.
His dad is in the show. I'm forgetting everything. Eugene Levy's son. So is it Dave Levy, maybe? I'm sorry.
I'll Google it as you're talking about it.
I think he's just...
Daniel
Levy. He's the creator of the show, along with his dad, Eugene Levy. and I think he's just so incredible. He's so funny. The show is brilliantly written. The cast is incredible. Yeah, I think it's just like incredible comedy.
I didn't know that they were related and that he was a part of the show.
Yeah, that's his dad. So the eyebrows. It's all the eyebrows. Because I love doing comedy, and I feel like my comedy wheelhouse is in that kind of range. Not like SNL. I respect SNL, but I'm not like a huge improv character person, but I love that kind of comedy. The Crown feels more like a really intense play. Like if I was to be watching a really good play on Broadway with, say Judi Dench, like amazing famous actors, that's how The Crown feels like.
Yeah, it's just people at the top of their craft doing the best work. Yeah.
So those are my two sides of acting that I love to continue to work on, my comedy and like that kind of just beautiful drama.
Okay, so do you watch it from the actors? Do you watch it from like thinking about, how do you watch? Like,
yeah,
is it
I get what you're
actors?
saying.
Yeah.
I try not to watch it from the actor point, but I do. Especially like if I have an audition for something, I will watch something that's similar to that. So like for this weekend, my chemistry read, I thought of Matilda. The childhood movie. Do you remember Matilda with Mara Wilson, I think?
I'm sure I've seen...
Danny DeVito directed it. It's really fun.
Yeah.
There's a character in that movie that really makes me think of this character I'm auditioning for. So I watched that movie. So I watch it for specific educational purposes, but I also just watch it for fun too. And I kind of separate those if I can.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, of course, that's the weird thing about watching stuff when you're involved in making movies and whatnot. Is like, as a script supervisor, when I'm watching on the day of a set, like I'm not even watching the performance usually. It's like I'm watching the movement of the actor and making sure the props that are being grabbed, when they're being grabbed, when they stand, in general, what the emotion level is like, where the hair is at, like all that kind of stuff. Wow. It's like, all right, sweet. I'm watching for that. Sometimes actors will come up to me and they'll ask about like, hey, like, instead of asking the director sometimes.
Which hand was I holding the cup?
No, they'll ask like, hey, like, am I doing a good job out there?
Oh, really?
Was that good?
Interesting.
Just, I don't know, because they don't want to ask the director. The director says it was great, we're moving on. And they kind of feel like, I don't know, like, is this playing? And they'll ask me. And I'm like, I'm not really watching the performance of it, but
if
great.
Somebody comes up to you and said, what hand was I holding the cup? Like that's where you can answer.
And I'm like, let's say you're right. I'm just kidding. No, it's for sure I do that as well. But so then when I'm watching a show and I'm not super into it yet, like eventually a show will grab you, you'll forget to watch the acting, or I'll forget to watch whatever I'll think about coverage a lot. I was like, how do they cover this scene? Like, every time it cuts, it's like a new angle. I'm like, oh, it's a close up on her. Oh, it's a medium. Oh, they went to a wide. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they shot like 16 different angles on this. I wonder, did they have 3 cameras going? Did they have how many setups? So you watch it kind of like
as a director.
As like a director, editor, script supervisor.
Now, I think now that I'm making more things, I do watch it. I don't think about cameras yet, but I do love watching cool shots, like Matilda.
Right.
There's, I watched it as a kid, so I wasn't thinking about that at all. But there's some really cool shots that I was like, whoa, that now I'm appreciating. So I do appreciate those now. Now I'm thinking of Euphoria.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've
watched 3 episodes only.
Have you seen the Fair episode? Is that the 3rd episode, maybe?
I don't know.
It's a big Fair one.
Fair? I don't think so.
No, it's really good. I mean, that is shot so beautifully.
That show is definitely... That's what grabbed me from that show really quick, is how cinematic...
Yeah.
I don't even know... That's way out of my wheelhouse of how I would shoot something. But that kind of inspires, like, oh my gosh, these shots, maybe I should, like, try some of these shots.
Yeah.
Because it's crazy in that show.
So I watch it as a lover of film, TV making. So that encompasses being an actress.
How often do you take stuff from actors as you're watching movies? Is it like, oh my gosh, I love the way she delivered that line, I might steal that? Or that's not, is that a thing?
No, I think about those things often. I mean, in specific, for when I was preparing for Jenny, I was watching, what is that chess one? Queen's Gambit. And I was trying, she does these very interesting looks, and I was trying to look that she does, and Max captured a still of it, and that's like my favorite still from the short. Do you know which one I'm talking about? Where I'm kind of like looking up like this. That was specifically, I was trying her.
Was that when you're on the couch? And
she's, okay. I was trying her look because she just knows her eyes and her face, that she knows how to use it. So every shoot I'm trying out something new, definitely.
Yeah, very cool.
Jack Nicholson said, and I'm gonna misquote this, but you've got to know the muscles in your face. He said, you got to know if, and I think about that.
That's what excited me when I was a kid about acting. Before, I was a big like Jim Carrey fan.
Oh, me too.
And Jim Carrey is all about face. It's just like, oh my gosh, like I want to be like Jim Carrey. He's so funny.
I definitely did Jim Carrey impressions.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I was like the big class clown.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Let's talk about inspiration. Like, where do you go to get your feel for your creative drive? Like when you're not quite feeling it, but you want to be up to, I
think I don't focus necessarily on finding the thing. I focus on clearing my head. So my Shangri-La, my place of meditation, is by the ocean. Usually water is really calming to me. I think I don't get new ideas when my brain is too busy and I'm not letting myself relax and have ideas jump into me. So I just try to find a clean slate. So I'll go on a walk. I love being by myself. I love hanging out by myself. So I'll go to Palos Verdes to this beach walk, and I will just sit with like a journal and just watch the ocean and meditate and journal, and I also talk to myself a lot.
I feel that.
Yeah, I meditate a lot on my drive, which I don't drive as much anymore because of COVID, but walk, drive, yeah. And I have like a place in my house where I can meditate. That's where kind of reset for new ideas, for new adventures.
When you say talking to yourself, can you give me an example of the scenario and on how that plays?
Well, it's very specific to the life coaching that I do. So there's these chants, kind of like finding clarity in making, goals, or finding what I want in that moment. And there's these steps that I take in that chant. So it's like a talked out meditation. Yeah. And I also just talk to myself too.
Well, because I talk to myself as well. And sometimes when I'm doing it, I'll have the thought of like, I wonder how many people talk to themselves, and just like nobody acknowledges the fact that we all talk to ourselves.
I think we all do. I also talk to myself as like the third person. Like I'll say, you should do this, or like you like I'm another person.
Right.
Which I wonder if other people do that, or other people go, I should. And it depends on the situation too. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a flexible medium.
Yeah, and I remember, you know what, when we first. No, actually, this was the last meeting before we shut Jenny. We talked about my favorite creator, which at that time, which she still is Issa Rae, who has a TV show. Oh my gosh, why am I forgetting her TV show name? Issa Rae, not Casual. Anyways, you can look it up because it's super famous on HBO, and I'm having a mind blank.
Issa Rae, HBO.
Awkward. Isn't it called? No, that was her web series. Awkward Black Girl was her web series.
awkward black girl, insecure.
Insecure, that's it.
Okay.
Insecure. Oh my gosh. And there's this scene where she's talking to herself in the mirror, and she's like rapping to herself in the mirror, and I'm like, yeah, like I do that too.
I feel like if I look at myself, like I more talk to myself when I can't see myself. Like if
that's true. You're right.
I don't like the mirror thing.
Yeah, mirror thing is not as much.
It's too
like
literal.
in the car
it's too literal.
or
You don't need to see your face to talk to
yourself. Yeah, I agree that. But the general feeling of talking to yourself. Oh my God.
Some military.
There's lots going on here today. Ooh.
All right. Okay. So you were saying about talking to yourself.
Oh yeah. Why did this come up? Oh, because of meditation. And yeah, so the meditation I do in my car is I talk it out, but I go through these steps until I find like my core thing I'm working on at that moment.
Yeah, because I don't know what your normal day looks like, but like I spend on the norm, I'm by myself a lot.
Yeah.
And
well, especially right now.
More than ever.
Yeah.
Like this whole last year.
Yeah.
Pretty much been solo.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of weird, but the habits that are developing on talking to myself sometimes, I'm like having the mask on in public too. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can talk outwardly to myself and nobody can tell because I have a mask on. So
I know, it's so
it's
weird.
kind of weird.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, wait, was I too loud?
Yeah.
But it's scary.
Well, it's so funny because your last two short films that I was in, I was talking to myself in the first one, and Jenny, Gianna was talking to herself.
Her younger self.
Yeah. So was that born from this COVID experience?
I think probably in some way.
Yeah.
It's also born from trying to work with limited cast.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
It's like, all right, want to not get anybody sick? Reesa, you're acting across yourself on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It worked great.
But I do think it is. It's also witnessing a lot of people struggling to find the answers, and everybody. Finding the answers always comes down to the conversations we have with ourselves and finding.
I agree.
Searching from within and really getting to the bottom of it. So that's kind of.
Yeah, that's what I do. I ask for answers to God, which is, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. And I think if I'm asking the question and it's coming to me, I usually hear it in my own voice saying, do this, which that's what I assume of when people say, God, talk to me. It's really just talking to like a deep part of myself and being open to hearing that from myself.
Yeah.
I do that in the car.
Yeah. In the car.
In the car, I ask for answers.
No, for sure. Yeah, because I know I read a lot up on. It's been a theme of the lockdown for sure. Is like the whole like consciousness and.
Somebody's running.
Like, and it's just like a weird thing. It's like, where do thoughts come from, and how are they popping up, and
never thought about
being
that.
open to listening. Because if you just like the whole meditation thing is if you just sit and do nothing and you just like watch your thoughts and like just scan through them.
Yeah.
And then just seeing like kind of what comes and that you can.
Well, I've been getting into breathing meditation. That's another thing.
That's a big one.
It's popular right now. But for me, it helps because I'm focusing on the breathing. If I'm just meditating, thoughts do come up. I'm not good enough to where I can just tune everything out. And I think that's fine too, like you said. Just have a thought, push it to the side, have a thought, push it to the side. But when I'm doing the breathing, I can usually be quite silent in my mind.
Yeah, nice. Very cool. Yeah. I'll jump to the last couple of questions here.
All right.
These might be a little bit quicker. What do you do with your free time?
So I've been getting into a lot of leisure sports, which is like, I didn't know they were called leisure sports because I'm not very sporty. I didn't grow up doing sports. I danced a lot,
right.
but competitive sports, not my thing. Not very coordinated.
That's interesting.
But leisure sports, tennis, golf, lots of hiking. I'm going to try to get in the water this summer. I'm a little scared of the ocean, but one of my friends is a water stunt girl. Or she's done stunts in water, and she said she would teach me how to feel safe in water.
Nice.
Start in the pool. So, and I'm fine with pools. I love
yeah,
swimming in the pool. It's just the waves.
And then work your way to the ocean.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So
I don't like the ocean either. It's big and it's scary.
I know. I am trying to take Saturday morning until sundown as my leisure time. Because I used to never do that, and I would work 7 days straight.
Yeah.
Because, when you work for yourself, you just keep working.
It's the hustle.
But I'm realizing that taking time off and recharging is so important, especially for my personality, because I just get so overwhelmed or anxious. Mm-hmm. So I need to take a break and reset and meditate. So I do those things.
Yeah, because because I play tennis too. I remember.
Fun. We should go together.
Yeah, I remember.
I'm horrible, by the way.
I'm pretty good.
Okay, teach me.
I mean, it's been like, I probably haven't played for like 6 years or something.
Okay, well, let's do it.
But I have,
I have 2 rackets.
Sweet, I have 2 rackets too.
And I have pink balls.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, no, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. All right, next up.
Okay.
This is a question. This is kind of random, but it has to do with a project that I'm trying to develop.
All right.
Question is, from your perspective,
mm-hmm.
What does it mean to be a man?
Ooh. If I were a boy. What is that? Beyonce song? Here's my singing. She had that song. If I were a boy or if I were a man. Yeah. What is it to be?
I think Taylor Swift has a song like that too, actually.
Yeah, she won Best Director for that music video.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she plays a guy.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I am a feminist, but I don't see it so much as like guys are this way, women are that way. I think it's very flexible. I don't think like.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I think it's kind of great because it depends on each person. I know what my family was like, and men and women in Japan are very defined. America, I think, and it's changed a lot in the past couple of years. I think it's a lot more fluid. You can be a guy, you can be even like a muscular kind of manly guy and be very feminine, and I love that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I have a thing where it's like what should a guy be or what is a guy?
Well, let's start with Japan.
Okay.
And you said there's a clear definition of what a man is there.
Yeah, which I don't like. Yeah.
What is it?
Was that men are usually more superior. Is superior above?
Yeah.
Yeah, superior.
Yeah, inferior would be below.
Yeah, there you go. See? Still learning English.
That's great.
Men are superior. Men still get paid more. And that I know that happens in the U.S. too.
Okay.
But it's more of the culture of men being a higher rank, and you have to listen to the guy, or you have to serve the guy, especially if you're at like a party. The women serve the men. I don't like that. So glad I left that. There's lots of great things about Japan, but I don't like that.
Yeah.
In the U.S., I mean, I have tons of friends. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, but as far as what about the character traits themselves in the ideals that a man is striving to become? Is that like a thing that boys like? There's a rite of passage to becoming a man, or it's like.
Yeah, I mean, and also there's.
Like, I don't know.
It's different generations, right? Even when we were growing up, I think what a guy or a boy was supposed to be is very different from now.
Same in Japan, where
same
it kind
in Japan,
of evolves
I think
too.
It has evolved, but men were supposed to be not the caretaker, the money maker, the provider, that's what it is, be masculine and don't cry and like don't wear pink maybe.
So the kind of the traditional, even that's like a Western view side. There's overlap there for sure. All right, okay, so now things are changing a little bit. It's a little bit more fluid. So, all right, are you trying to argue for, I didn't really kind of see this, I didn't really foresee this coming, but it does make sense, that is it wrong to give traits depending, like man trait, woman trait? It's like it doesn't really matter. Like you're a human, and then traits come to you, and we don't really try to categorize them as that's a woman trait, that's a man trait. Like, is that?
Yeah, I think of that way more. You know, I have lots of friends in the LGBT community. Then, you know, what are a manly trait for them? It could be wearing a dress. They're a guy that likes to wear a dress.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I also have, you know, lesbian friends who, you know, they like to shave their head or whatever. Like, we as society put on what a woman and a man are supposed to be. And that's slowly being taken away.
Yeah.
So, you know, in the next couple of generations, I think it's going to look very different.
We shall see. Yeah, because I'm trying to think about, I guess, in the particular scenario that I'm thinking, it's like it's a relationship story where it's a guy and a girl, man and a woman, and there's some conflicts between him thinking he's being criticized on not being manly enough, so he's like, he wants to be more of a man. Mm-hmm. But there's still some work to be done on what he thinks that means and what she thinks that means, and kind of solving all those problems on that miscommunication on what I think it means is actually not what you think it means. So we're not really on the same page with me being manly here and trying to provide for us. And it's like, you don't want me to, like, I don't need you to provide, like that whole those whole kind of conversations. So we'll see where that story goes.
I like that. I think that's very, very real.
But we'll see. But cool. Let me check the time. Great. Perfect. Let's that's all I got.
All right.
I was gonna say, last, I always like to ask is if people want to keep up with what Reesa's got going on, where do they keep up with you? Where?
The only thing I'm on is on Instagram 5 times a week. Actually, I joined Clubhouse, but you won't find me there.
Yeah.
It's Reesa Pieces 73, REESASPIECES 73. I post some comedy videos there, some artsy stuff, whatever I'm working on, what I'm eating that day.
Yeah.
When I'm hanging out with Eddie.
Great. So yeah, follow Reesa there. I did want to ask, how are you liking Clubhouse? How is that going?
Well, I kind of joined it just to say I joined it. I don't know. We'll see if I join any groups.
Have you been on at all? You haven't?
I haven't joined a group yet.
I'm not liking it.
You're not liking it? Interesting. No. I've heard some drama. I'm actually want to write a short film with my friend about Clubhouse. So
even though you haven't explored it yet.
Well, that's the point. Yeah, I just got approved, so I have to explore.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'll leave it at that. And
see you at Clubhouse.
Thanks again. All right. Bye.
Bye.